So, which direction is MLB headed in 2025? Up or down? If you ask Cam Newton, the answer is down, way down. He made some comments just before New Year's, called baseball a dying sport, predicted that baseball will be surpassed by the WNBA in 20 years. Asked the question, who's following baseball? It didn't go over well. He got roasted by fans and non-fans alike. A few reasons why he said that. One, for engagement, even if it's mostly negative, and it seems to have worked. Two, he lives in a little sports bubble, that ESPN bubble where only football and basketball matter, and he just doesn't pay attention to what goes on with baseball. If he did, he'd know that baseball is coming off back-to-back seasons of increased attendance. Last year was at a 7-year high. Also, back-to-back ratings increases, with last year's World Series at a 7-year high. World Series ratings crushed the NBA Finals ratings last year. The WNBA is coming off one good year, the first really good year it's ever had. It's still tiny compared to MLB. Nothing against the WNBA, by the way. I wish them all the best. But it would have to multiply itself several times just to be in the same ballpark, figuratively speaking, as Major League Baseball. In all likelihood, Cam Newton probably surrounds himself with people who think exactly like he does, and he never interacts with the millions of baseball fans out there. And that's what he goes by. Doesn't check the actual numbers. Just goes by what he hears from other people who think exactly like he does. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about him or what he thinks. I want to talk about MLB in 2025. It's been on the upswing the last couple years. Will that continue? It could. But there are some things that could really kill the momentum it's got. I'll talk about 5 things I feel could really help or hurt MLB in terms of attendance, ratings, and just overall interest. If you think I'm wrong, let us know in the comments. If you know of something else that could be a big positive or negative, leave a comment. And what do you think will happen? Will MLB continue to grow its audience, or will it take a step back? Whatever you think, let us know. First, and this is the biggest one, the A's and Rays. 2 teams, same problem. These 2 teams have been a problem for a long time. A's were the biggest drag on attendance the last 2 years. Rays are almost always a drag on attendance, and their stadium issues were holding back MLB expansion. Going into last season, it appeared these problems were finally going to be solved. A's getting a new ballpark in Vegas, Rays getting a new one in the same area. But the A's move is not going as smoothly as planned. The Rays had their ballpark destroyed by a hurricane, and their move to the new one is in jeopardy. And the worst part is, both teams will be playing in minor league parks. The A's at the 14,000 capacity Sutter Health Park in Sacramento. The Rays at the 11,000 capacity Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. The A's averaged only 11,000 in Oakland last year, so they could see attendance go up if fans in Sacramento fill the park for every game. From 11,000 to 14,000 would be a 27% increase. Not bad. But it can't possibly offset the drop in attendance they're going to see in Tampa. The Rays averaged over 16,000 at Tropicana Field in 2024. They're guaranteed a drop of at least 5,000 per game, or about 31%. So if MLB's upward trend is to continue, they'll need to see big increases around the country to make up for the decline that the Rays will see. The A's and Rays combined for a 27,000 per game average a year ago. The most they can possibly expect this year is 25,000. And 14,000 for the A's, 11,000 for the Rays may not even be possible. Weather is going to be an issue. The heat in both Sacramento and Tampa. The rain in Tampa. Will they even be able to get a full house for every game? They could see a change in the ratings too. Maybe not the Rays. I think people in the Tampa area will still watch Rays games in the same numbers as before. Same team, different venue. Doesn't matter much when you're watching on screen. But how well will A's fans react to the team playing in a different city? The move is an unpopular one. So are A's fans from the Bay Area going to stop supporting them, stop tuning in? There may be a lot less viewers tuning into athletics games because of the move. Or could they see more viewers? They'll be making new fans in their temporary city. Sacramento's never had a major league team before, and the A's playing there will be something to get excited about. More people in and around the city will become A's fans, or at least interested enough to tune in. So while a drop in attendance for the 2 teams combined is a guarantee, I see the viewership either staying the same or getting a slight bump. But besides the attendance and ratings, it's just a bad look for MLB having these 2 teams in minor league parks. At a time when the league's image has been improving, it could really take a hit from this. If both teams get their plans for the future straightened out, it won't be so bad. We'll find out soon if they can do that or not. The second thing I want to talk about here is related to the first one, and that is expansion. Of course, there won't be expansion this year, nor any major announcement for expansion, but the possibility of it and the excitement around talk of expansion needs to return. That will only happen when it appears that the future of the A's and Rays is being settled. That's how it was starting to appear going into last season, and the discussions around expansion were really heating up. It may not seem like an important thing at first glance, but one of MLB's biggest problems is that it's so regional. Baseball does well in areas where a franchise exists, and doesn't do well at all in cities with no MLB team. A big wall between the haves and have-nots, a greater divide than the NFL or NBA deals with. But MLB has started to get better ratings and attract more overall interest in large, growing metro areas that are not home to Major League ball clubs. And I would attribute a large part of that growth to the possibility of expansion. When people feel like their community could soon become a part of the MLB community, they're more drawn to it. Not just in Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Oregon, but even in cities that don't really have a chance, because it's hard to convince people that their city has no chance. Besides, people in general just enjoy the idea of expanding league, new markets, new stadiums, new logos. They haven't added new expansion teams in 27 years, so for a lot of young fans it can be a first-time experience. But right now, expansion talk is dead. Until we know what's going to happen for sure with the A's and Rays, no one's even mentioning it. If people start to get the idea that MLB will always be a 30-team league in the exact same markets as now, a lot of people who started tuning in the last few years will start to tune out. One team that has had a big effect lately, both positively and negatively, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. 2 years ago, the Diamondbacks were part of the lowest-rated World Series ever, in large part due to them being a very unpopular team. However, in 2024, there was a big attendance surge in Arizona, up 4,700 per game from the year before, the largest increase among all 30 MLB teams. Very common for teams to see a jump in attendance following a World Series appearance, but it was bigger in Arizona because they were starting from below-average attendance figures. Last year's World Series teams, the Dodgers and Yankees, already have good attendance, so they might see a little bump this season, but nothing like what the D-backs saw last year. The big question is, will they continue to fill the stands or will they revert to their pre-World Series below-average figures? I would expect attendance to drop. We could already see that in the second half of the season last year. Even though the team was competitive, 16 games over 500, in the wild card race till the final day. Not a good sign, probably headed downward again. But we will see a jump in attendance from another team this year, the New York Mets. Like the D-backs did last year, the Mets will lead the way in increased attendance, after a bad start but a strong finish in 2024. Followed by a big offseason. So as far as attendance, I'm guessing a big drop for the Rays, big rise for the Mets. Little drop for the D-backs, little rise for the Dodgers and Yankees. A's don't know. For the league as a whole, maybe about the same as last year. Even if it falls a little bit, it's not too bad, considering last year was a 7-year high. But World Series ratings will be hard to match. Unlike with attendance, where we're coming off 2 good years, the World Series has had only 1 good year of ratings. Here's the top 5 lowest rating World Series ever. What do you notice? Yeah, the last 4 World Series prior to last year were the 4 lowest ever, so it was an easy act to follow. But the 2024 World Series didn't just top the previous 4 years, it also surpassed the 2018 and 2019 World Series, so it was a victory for MLB. No secret as to why. 2 largest markets, 2 storied franchises, 42 years since the last time they met in a World Series. But what is the right matchup for this year's World Series? Certainly not another Yankees-Dodgers series. Once is fine, but 2 years in a row would not do as well in the ratings, and would be bad for baseball altogether. No one wants to see that. But what's the alternative? We don't want to go back to the previous few years when the ratings were a disaster. Look again at the 5 lowest rated World Series, and it's not very encouraging. Because in 2020 you had the Dodgers, 2021 Braves, Astros, 2022 Astros, Phillies, and they all went 6 games. Should have had good ratings, but they bombed. Wasn't due to the teams though. Baseball was doing bad all around in those years. 2023 was the turnaround year for MLB, but we were given an undesirable match for the World Series. I think any World Series involving the Braves or Phillies would do better this year than it did a few years ago. I can't say for sure what a good matchup would be to earn a lot of national interest. You don't want the same teams over and over again. Astros come to mind. We'd like to see a fresh new face, but not a team with a severe shortage of fans. Comment if you got any idea. What is a realistic World Series matchup we could see in 2025 that would get strong ratings and a lot of attention from fans outside of the 2 cities involved? And there's one player who can really lift the league up, as he has done in the past. Of course, Shohei Ohtani. Last year, all the talk was about Ohtani, even though Judge had the better season out of the 2 MVPs. it was Ohtani in the spotlight. Not just because his team won it all, even before that, Ohtani was more talked about. In his 7 years in MLB, he's had a habit of doing things that have never been done before. Last year, he did something no one even expected. Whoever thought he'd become the first 50-50 player? Most of us thought no one would ever do it. And he wasn't on pace to do it for most of the season. He got better and better towards the end, and that is very important. A player getting better and chasing a number that's never been reached before in September, when the game is competing with the NFL for fans' attention, is very important to MLB. That excitement created in September was carried into October. In a normal year, September is a boring month for the teams not involved in the postseason race. But the 50-50 run was historic. It got the attention of the whole country and the whole sports world. The question is, how does he follow up on that? 60-60 or 60 home runs plus 20 wins on the mound? MVP and Cy Young, Triple Crown and Pitcher's Triple Crown? At some point, he's going to run out of first things to do. In order to maintain the same level of excitement, he has to keep one-upping himself. That eventually becomes impossible. So he might have another amazing year, but if he's not reaching ridiculous heights, people won't care as much. Or even worse, what if he has a mediocre season? Mediocre by Ohtani standards, I mean. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery. Maybe he has a rough time on the mound in his return. At the plate, maybe he can't even reach 40-40. 38 home runs, 29 stolen bases, still good, but not what we're used to seeing from him. Other players could step up too. Judge may be able to hit 60 home runs again, but unless he can hit 70, which I don't see happening, it just won't create as much buzz. Bobby Witt Jr. is an exciting young player. Roki Sasaki could make a big splash in his first MLB season, but anything they do I feel is going to come up short compared with Ohtani's never-before-seen recent achievements. My point with all this, Ohtani's 50-50 season, the World Series matchup, D-backs attendance surge, and expansion talk, is that a lot has gone right for MLB in the last couple years. The rule changes, and especially the pitch clock, got it all started, that's for sure. But a lot of other things have built on it and kept the momentum going. Will we see the same things in 2025? Probably not. Nothing comparable to a 50-50 season. World Series matchup probably won't be as big as Yankees-Dodgers was, even if the matchup is Yankees and Dodgers, and so on. But as long as attendance comes close to what we've seen the last 2 years, remember it was a big jump from 2022 to 2023, ratings for the season close to what we've seen the last 2 years, and World Series ratings that can top all the World Series ratings from 2020 to 2023, I'd say MLB is still in a good place. But there's got to be something special, something unique about this season, besides two teams playing in minor league parks. Something that'll keep attention focused on MLB this summer. Don't know what it'll be or whether it'll be positive or negative, but I look forward to finding out. Anyway, that's just what I think. Let us know what you think down in the comments. That's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.